Each month, about 68 million Americans receive Social Security benefits, totaling about $1.5 trillion annually. Among those aged 65 and older, nearly 86% are beneficiaries. The average monthly benefit for retired workers is $1,900, equating to an annual income of just under $24,000. For individuals receiving the maximum benefit at full retirement age in 2025, this amounts to $4,018 per month, or just about $48,000 per year. Gallup reports that 88% of retirees rely on Social Security to cover their essential expenses. These stats underscore the critical role that Social Security plays for our retirees. Without Social Security, many of our nation's seniors would be in a place of financial hardship, so funding Social Security is a critical issue. As it currently stands today, by the mid-2030s, our trust reserves for Social Security are expected to be fully depleted, at which point the program would solely rely on tax revenues. Those tax revenues would only be enough to pay out about 75% of the current benefits. Since 2021, Social Security payouts have exceeded revenues, reducing trust reserves. This isn't just a headline, it's a well-documented issue, even highlighted by the Social Security Administration. Now, as you can imagine, if you had to stomach a 25% pay cut, that's probably not something you'd want to do. Depending on your financial situation, it may not be something you can do. For our nation's seniors, many of whom are on fixed incomes, this is a very real problem. It's important to keep in mind that the shortfall of Social Security trust reserves is a well-known, well-documented issue. It's been decades in the making. Concerns of a shortfall were first raised in the 1970s. Modest reforms happened in the 1980s, but concerns persist. Social Security is a hot-button issue, and notably, many U.S. presidents have avoided directly addressing its long-term funding issues due to the political risks involved. It's often referred to as the third rail of American politics, because touching it can be politically fatal. The term comes from high-voltage railways, where the third rail carries electricity, and touching it is deadly. Proposed changes are often met with strong opposition. Most politicians focus on short-term policy wins, not long-term issues that extend beyond their tenure in office. Fixing Social Security may require raising retirement ages, increasing payroll taxes, or cutting benefits, all of which are highly unpopular. Every administration inherits ongoing national issues, and Social Security challenges have been decades in the making. While this isn't the current administration's fault, it is something that will need to be addressed to ensure the program remains solvent. President Trump has been very vocal in saying that Social Security benefits will not be cut, only strengthened. One of his major campaign talking points has been that seniors should not have to pay taxes on their Social Security benefits. Currently, about 50% of retirees pay taxes on their Social Security benefits. Depending on your income in retirement, up to 85% of your Social Security benefits could be subject to federal tax. Lower-income retirees often pay nothing, whereas higher-income retirees are more likely to be taxed. The Senior Citizens League estimates that eliminating this tax could save seniors about $560 per person per year. However, while it would put more money in seniors' pockets, it would also cut a funding source for Social Security itself. Experts estimate this change would increase the program's insolvency by $1.5 to $2 trillion by 2035, accelerating the shortfall. President Trump has also suggested that tips and overtime pay should not be taxed at the federal level. While this aims to put more money back into workers' pockets, especially those struggling with inflation, it would also cut another funding source for Social Security. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimates that eliminating taxes on Social Security benefits, along with payroll taxes on tips and overtime, could accelerate the Social Security shortfall to 2032. In the event of a shortfall, current estimates suggest benefits would be paid at about 75% of their current level. However, with these additional tax cuts, The committee estimates that benefit cuts could be even deeper, with payouts at only 67% of what they should be. So, while the immediate goal of these proposals is to ease the financial burden on seniors and workers today, there's concern that they could worsen or accelerate the depletion of Social Security funds, making the long-term problem worse. Social Security and Medicare represent a very significant portion of our federal budget. Social Security alone is the federal government's biggest line item and makes up 21% of the budget, while Medicare accounts for another 14%. Combined, these two programs make up roughly 35% of our national budget. Social Security itself has three primary funding sources: payroll taxes, which make up 91.3% of Social Security revenues; taxes on Social Security benefits, contributing 3.8% of the revenue; and interest income, with the remaining 4.9% coming from interest earned on trust surpluses invested in special government-issued bonds. It's worth noting that the 3.8% from taxes on Social Security benefits is a portion that President Trump has suggested removing. While it is not a substantial funding source, it still contributes to the program's overall stability. For decades, Social Security has relied predominantly on these funding sources. When discussions arise about addressing Social Security funding, they typically focus on adjusting the current system by changing the age at which people are eligible for benefits, modifying payroll taxes, and altering eligibility requirements for benefit. However, alternative funding sources are rarely discussed in detail. While President Trump has not outlined a clear plan to sustain Social Security, he has hinted at alternative revenue sources. During a town hall meeting, he suggested that tapping into U.S. oil and gas reserves could help address Social Security funding challenges, stating, "We have tremendous wealth under our feet. We can use it to save Social Security." Additionally, President Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, has targeted waste, fraud, and abuse. While its primary mission is to enhance government efficiency, there have been suggestions that any surpluses identified could help bolster Social Security funding. However, this has only been hinted at and not explicitly stated as a goal of DOGE. Trump has also emphasized that a stronger economy and job market could increase payroll tax revenues, which would help sustain Social Security in the long term, shifting the financing model. Shifting Social Security's financing model to include alternative revenue sources would require legislative action and congressional approval. This would not be a simple process, though it is not impossible. For example, if oil drilling were pursued as a revenue source, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimates that current oil and gas leasing revenues would cover less than 4% of Social Security's funding gap. If DOGE successfully identifies and eliminates inefficiencies, these savings could be allocated towards Social Security. However, the impact would depend on the scale of the savings. Given the substantial funding shortfall, only significant reductions in government spending would make a meaningful difference. Since Social Security is the federal budget's largest expenditure, addressing its funding gap would require a major reallocation of funds. It is important to remember that any suggested changes to Social Security at this time are just proposals. The earliest any modifications could take effect would be in 2026, but nothing has been finalized. Addressing Social Security will likely require adjustments to benefits or taxes as they currently stand. One possible solution is lifting the cap on income taxes, making all incomes subject to Social Security benefit tax. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in a comment below. Exploring alternative funding sources could be an interesting approach, but a balanced solution that includes both new funding sources and adjustments to the current system may be necessary. Either way, this issue must be addressed. President Trump's proposal aims to ease the financial burden on seniors and workers, but the broader impact must also be considered. Cutting taxes may provide immediate relief, but could accelerate the depletion of these funds. What do you think is the best fix for the program? Share your thoughts in the comments below.